Hello, Forecaster here again, and we are back for episode 114. And in this episode, we're going to have a look at a few unrelated things. But first of all, I have made a few mod updates. I've updated Forge from 1481 to 1566 because a few of the other mods, or at least one of the other mods I updated required it. I have updated Open Computers, Nuclear Control, Biomes of Plenty, Bibliocraft, Buildcraft Editions, Industrial Craft 2, and finally Forecaster's Backpacks. And the Forecaster's Backpacks mod now adds a Warrior's Backpack, and this accepts it should accept most of the weapons I have, for example from Quiver Bow and Balkan's Weapons mod. So yeah, then there's mostly bug fixes and some minor changes in the other mods. So with that out of the way, we're going to get to the first thing I want to show, and that's this thing right here. This is going to be my new gas reservoir. And as you can see, I've gone for depth over width, like I did with the oil reservoir. And this has been dug out by Serene, and it's currently 31 meters deep, and it's 5 by 5 wide, as you can probably tell. Another thing I should probably mention is that I have turned off smooth lighting completely. So if we go into the video settings, I set smooth lighting to off, and I think this has given me a few more frames in my base here, so the frame rate is slightly better than it was before. Still, when I look this way, I get about 10, which is still pretty bad, but it's better than 5. So yeah. Now this reservoir will store 775 buckets currently. Now I want to expand it to be 10 by 10 instead, so it's going to be expanded out to there, which Serene is going to do. So we're going to put Serene down. She's going to go get the drill from the charger, and then she's going to start digging out this. She'll probably come through there, I would expect. She's going to start digging out the reservoir, and when she's done, it's going to be 31 by 10 by 10, and it's then going to store 3,100 buckets of fuel or gasoline, which is almost 3 times as much as my current gasoline tank over here, which stores 1,152 buckets. So that's pretty good. It's, like I said before, storing fluid in a reservoir like this is cheap and relatively easy. Now I'm going to need a floodgate, of course, and here the frame rate drops again. So we're going to make a floodgate. Which we have there. We're going to need some iron and a tank. So let's do that. And we're also going to need a means of getting the fuel out of the tank afterwards, of course. Now let's see. We need 6 for the iron bars, 4 for the gear, and then 4 more for the surrounding ingots. Now the gear is going to require a wooden and then a stone gear. So we are going to do that. Probably didn't need that many planks, it would seem. Whoops. But oh well. We have our iron gear. I probably have iron bars somewhere, but I don't feel like looking for those right now. So there we have our tank, and then we just need to do this and this and this, and there we have our floodgate. So the plan would be, let's see, let's throw those in there, and there were indeed enough iron bars in there to would have done it, but oh well. So my plan is to have the refinery, which happens to be right here. We have the gasoline output here. We're going to want to pump that directly into the reservoir. So we're probably going to put the floodgates right here. Probably be good. And then the reservoir, it's basically going to work like the oil reservoir, where we have oil being pumped up from out here from our oil well, which still hasn't emptied. Still plenty of oil left in there. And it's being sent to the reservoir first, and we'll fill it up, and then from the reservoir it's being pumped up into this tank here, and then from this buffer tank here it's being sent into the refinery, which apparently is filled up on gasoline. So we're going to want to do the same thing there with the gasoline, where we'll send it to the reservoir first, and then from the reservoir we are going to pump it into this tank here. But I'm probably going to move this tank because I don't want it right here anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, once the reservoir is completely dug out, then I'm going to have to check the new walls for holes, of course, because there might be intersecting caves, and I don't want to have gasoline leak into those, potentially flow outside. That would be awkward. But once that is done, I'm going to dump the contents of that tank into the reservoir, thus emptying it so I can move it somewhere else. I'm probably going to move it closer to the reservoir, to somewhere along this wall here is my plan. But while we wait for Serene to complete the reservoir, let's have a look at the teleporter. Not sure why it went down. I actually need to go up here, and the frame rate is awful again. So, ignoring that, I've prepared an MFE, as you can probably tell right here. And this is what I'm going to use to power the teleporter. And hopefully the cost of teleporting to the stronghold will be low enough to be covered by a single MFE. And we're going to hook the MFE up to the power grid, of course, because we want it to be charged. And it looks like we're going to need some more copper cable. So let's get some rubber, and should have plenty of wire in here. Let's insulate some of that. Can throw the rubber in here, doesn't really matter. And then we'll take this hole down here. I realized that my the nanosuit boots absorb fall damage at the cost of energy, which is fine by me. So now we have, now this is being charged, and I also prepared a button here. So we're going to allow this to charge up for a bit, and probably want a piece of stone bricks. I'm going to put that here. I'm going to make a new drone hole here. Then we're going to put a button here, which is going to power the teleporter. So when we have enough charge, probably don't need to wait for it to fill up, but we'll wait until it reaches 20,000. There's a lot of sand here, and we have the beach area above, but it looks like we might be sufficiently deep to not actually intersect that. When I dug out this little alcove here, I actually had sand fall down, but it looks like this level is low enough to not have any sand fall down into the reservoir, which is good because that would turn into a bit of a mess. Right, so now we have 25,000 charged. Let's press the button and see what happens. Nothing. That means we don't have enough power yet to make the teleport. So, oh well. I am going to do something. We're going to remove this variable. Otherwise we would affect the digging area. And I'm going to select this. And this gets me the coordinates of the teleporter. And I'm going to write those down. So we have negative 671, 58, 932. Then, when I teleport to the other teleporter, I can do the same thing with that and get its position. And then I can enter those coordinates into the power cost, the teleport cost calculator I found, and I can see how much. Oh dear. What the base cost of teleporting will be. Which is going to be good to know. We are going to get an approximate value once this works, because we'll know about what power level this will be. We'll try again at 50,000, see if that works. Now I do have a bunch of stuff. I might actually want to get rid of some of it. We can decrease the cost by packing some things. I had a frequency transmitter. What did I use that for? I don't know. Because each slot that is occupied in your inventory affects or increases the cost of teleporting. So you'll want to have as few slots as possible. But it doesn't care about items within items. So it doesn't count all of these, for example. It just counts the backpack itself. I don't know why I'm carrying that around. So I can probably pack things away reasonably efficiently to decrease the cost. Let's throw these away. We can destroy that and that. Don't really care. That can go in the scholar's backpack. Right, let's try it now. No. Dang. Oh well. Where'd the drones go? What are you doing? There she went. Maybe she was stuck inside the door or something. That was weird. Did you go back to digging? Yes. Okay, so she was stuck inside the door. Hello. This useless drone, as you might remember, is supposed to be in charge of moving fuel from this tank, this output tank, into the storage tank over here. But as you can see, he's not doing his job. And this keeps happening, and I can't figure out why. And it bugs me. And this is one of the reasons I'm redesigning the my storage, so that I can have the refinery output directly to the reservoir without having to have the drone in between. Because this thing is not reliable. In fact, I can collect him. This has a logistics task, which is set to an area that encompasses this tank and that tank, which have the relevant frames on them, of course. But it frequently stops working. In fact, it got so bad that he's also in charge of keeping these compressors supplied with LPG from these tanks here, which also have frames on them, of course. And it actually got to the point where these ran out of fuel completely, and my entire pressure system, well, ran out of pressure. So yeah, not happy about that. And as you saw, I replaced the drone with these logistics modules, which now keep these topped off as required, connecting directly to these to decrease the distance. Now I'm not going to use logistics modules for this. I'm just going to have Railcraft pipes running along here to keep it simple, because there's going to be constant flow to this pretty much anyway. And I believe the distance might be too far for the logistics modules to work, maybe, but I'm not sure. But I intend to have Railcraft pipes. Now let's check on the teleporter again. Let's see how charged up you are. Almost 100,000. I guess we'll try again at 100,000. So one thing that happened when when the pressure ran out was that I realized how dangerous this elevator is, because the elevator was at the workshop floor. You can see that I have added the surface now and extended the elevator up to here, so I can now ride all the way up as I intended from the start. And there's no redstone for the doors up here yet. But when the pressure had run out, I used the elevator to go back down to the factory floor. Whew. And when the elevators have no pressure, you can go down, but you can't go up, of course, because going up requires pressure. Going down just requires releasing pressure in the pistons. So, and I realized that if I had gone down to the nuclear reactor then, before the pressure had built up, because by that point when I used the elevator, I had already refueled the compressors and set up the logistics modules. But if I had gone down to the nuclear reactor, I would have been stuck down there until the pressure had built back up to where the elevators worked again. And I realized that if this thing happened again, if I run out of fuel, and then the compressors run out of LPG, and I go down to the nuclear reactor, I would be stuck down there and have to dig my way back up. So something we're going to do, probably not in this episode, but I have this spare liquid compressor, which used to be in the floor over here, which I've since removed because the drones can just go and recharge up by the refinery. So I'm going to use this and build an emergency generator for the elevator at the bottom floor by the nuclear reactor. And I'm going to set it up so that this liquid compressor is controlled by a lever, and it's full of fuel, and it's off at all times until I need to generate backup power to get back up. I would flip the lever. However, this can't be. I don't want this to. So by default, all the pressure components link to make up an entire huge network. So, for example, we have this assembler, we have the pressure chamber, we have the entire refinery. All of this is being powered by these compressors, and of course the elevator, which is at the bottom of the shaft. And if I link this advanced liquid compressor down there to the elevators, that is automatically going to connect to the rest of this system up here. So if these run out of fuel and I turn this on, this is going to have to fill this entire system with air and build up pressure in all of these pipes, in the pressure chamber and the elevators and the assembly, this assembly controller setup, the assembler, and the refinery, all of the thermopneumatic processors, and these charging stations. And that simply won't do. That will take ages. So I want to make sure that the pressure only builds up in the elevators. And the way to do that is to use a restrictor tube module, or whatever it's called. I'm pretty sure it's something like that. Pneumatic craft. Let's see. It is the regulator. That's the one. So we'll want one of these. So, and we'll put it in between the elevator and the line that goes up in this wall here and connects the elevator to the pressure system up on the next floor. And normally it will be unrestricted, of course, allowing the elevators to receive pressure from above. But once the lever is flipped and this liquid compressor is turned on, we're going to have it restrict or choke the flow completely from the elevator to the top to make sure that the compressor, this one, only has to fill the elevator itself to make it work and not the rest of the system. And then once I'm back up here and can figure out why the pressure system shut down and fix that, I can go back down and turn off the backup generator, which will allow the elevator to be powered once more by the by the normal generators, or by the normal compressors. So that's the plan for that, and I believe it's going to be just fine. Probably won't really be necessary because we're not it's unlikely that we're going to run out of fuel, because we have a lot of oil stored up, and now that I have replaced the logistics drones with the logistics modules, it is unlikely that the compressors will stop being refueled now until we actually run out of LPG. So, but I still like to have the backup just in case something happens. Maybe there's an accident and these blow up somehow, although that's also pretty unlikely. This ladder goes all the way to the bottom of this shaft, by the way. Let's turn on the night vision. Now there's some sand down in here, but that's alright, the drones will get rid of that. Stupid bats. Serene will dig away the sand once she's done up here, because the area is still this entire shaft, which include the already dug out bit. Right, I was going to claim this again in case I need it. Put it in here. I can put that away for now. Now, unfortunately, we have reached the end of the episode. I'm going to have to repair the ceiling in here. And then in the next episode, we are going to come back to do the backup pressure system. And yes, we'll try out the elevator or the teleporter then. By then, we'll probably have a lot more charge to work with, so that will be fine, I think. And you're stuck again. That's annoying. Oh well. So, I will see you then.